Disney's Snow White is bombing, and not just a little. This isn't a disappointing debut. It's a full-blown box office catastrophe. Yet somehow, entertainment media is still trying to spin this as a success. Collider recently published a headline celebrating the film passing $50 million domestically, calling it a milestone. But for a Disney princess film, with one of the most iconic names in animation history, that number is an embarrassment. And fans are letting the studio know exactly why this film is falling apart. Because here's the thing, audiences aren't confused about why Snow White failed. They're not uncertain, or divided, or unsure. The comment sections tell a brutally clear story. It's not because of woke backlash, or because the story doesn't connect with modern audiences. It's because of one thing, the casting of Rachel Zegler, and the way Disney has handled everything surrounding her. Let's not sugarcoat it. Rachel Zegler has become one of the most polarizing Disney leads in recent memory, and this has nothing to do with her acting ability. No one's denying that she can sing, or that she has talent, but that's not what audiences are upset about. They're upset about who she is when she's not acting, about how she talks in interviews, about the way she treats the legacy of the very film she was hired to represent. From the very beginning, Zegler positioned herself as someone above the original Snow White. In interview after interview, she mocked the story, criticized the prince, and basically dismissed the film that made the character iconic. She proudly said the remake wouldn't be a love story, and that this Snow White wouldn't need a man to rescue her. Now, that might sound empowering on the surface, but to millions of longtime fans it came off as arrogant, disrespectful, and worst of all, completely tone-deaf. Because Snow White isn't just any fairy tale. It's the foundation of Disney's animation empire. It's the first ever Disney feature-length film. It's a story that's been beloved by generations. And when your lead actress acts like she's embarrassed to be part of that history, it sends the message that the film itself is embarrassed to exist. And that is not how you sell a movie. The comments from viewers are blunt. One person said the issue wasn't wokeness or bad writing, it was 100% Rachel Zegler. Another said she reminded them of AOC, claiming her tone was so off-putting it made them actively avoid the film. People weren't just disappointed, they were angry. Angry that Disney would cast someone who openly criticized the original. Angry that she used press tours to make political statements. Angry that she turned Snow White, a simple fairy tale, into a culture war. And it didn't stop there. Zegler reportedly made comments during the film's promotion that not only took shots at men, but even created tension with her co-stars. Some accused her of using the platform to make pro-Palestinian and anti-Israeli statements, adding fuel to an already polarized public response. Whether you agree or disagree with her views isn't even the point. The point is, this is Snow White, a Disney princess film. It was never supposed to be this complicated. And then there's Gal Gadot. The actress playing the evil queen also stirred controversy due to her military background and public political positions. One commenter didn't hold back, calling her an IOF genocider, blaming her presence as one of the reasons the film became, in their words, an abomination. Again, whether or not you agree with that opinion, it illustrates a major problem. This film became more about the actor's political baggage than the actual story. At the end of the day, parents are the ones deciding what to take their kids to see. And when they're hearing headlines about controversial interviews, online arguments, and ideological messaging, they're out. One father of 3 said he wouldn't take his kids to see a movie led by someone who he felt was disrespectful, immature, and divisive. He said they'd stick to the original, and that they had no interest in watching a film that turned a fairy tale into a political sermon. This is where Disney seems to have completely lost the plot. They're not just making kids' movies anymore, they're making statements. And while that might win applause from Twitter, it's driving families away from theaters, because there's no shortage of kids' entertainment these days. If parents don't like the message you're sending, they'll go somewhere else. And right now, they are. Let's talk numbers. $270 million. That's the rumored production budget for Snow White. That doesn't even include marketing. With the film barely hitting $50 million in domestic box office and international numbers not much better, This movie is on track to lose Disney hundreds of millions of dollars. For a studio that built its empire on the back of fairy tales, that kind of loss is not just a flop, it's a crisis. What makes it worse is the corporate denial. Media outlets like Collide are still trying to frame these results as some sort of success. A box office milestone, they said. But fans didn't buy the narrative for a second. Are you going to run another article when it reaches $51 million? One user mocked. Another called the entire tone of the piece a joke. Because when your film is a disaster, pretending it's a victory just makes you look out of touch. Disney's strategy in recent years has been baffling. Instead of listening to the audience, they lecture them. Instead of honoring beloved stories, they rewrite them to fit a narrow modern narrative. Instead of casting for connection, they cast for controversy. And each time, the result is the same: underwhelming box office, divided audiences, and frustrated fans. This isn't about left versus right. It's about storytelling. When people go to see a Disney film, they're not asking for a political manifesto. They're asking for wonder, for charm, for a little bit of magic. And if that's too much to ask from the world's most famous animation studio, then something has gone very wrong. What's ironic is that Snow White should have been the easiest win for Disney. A timeless tale, a globally recognized brand, a princess loved across generations. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here, you just need to treat the story with care. Instead, Disney handed it over to people who seem more interested in mocking the past than honoring it. And the audience noticed. Over and over again, we're seeing the same pattern. Disney produces a remake. The lead actors do press tours where they distance themselves from the original. The studio leans into messaging over magic. And then they act shocked when the movie bombs. But the audience is not confused. They're speaking clearly, loudly, repeatedly. They want movies that respect the source material. They want characters they can root for. They want their kids to grow up with the same joy they had watching these films. Right now, they're not getting that. And they're responding the only way that matters in Hollywood, by closing their wallets. So where does this leave Disney? In a tough spot. Because Snow White isn't just another box office bomb, it's symbolic. It's a reflection of a company that's lost touch with its base. That used to lead the industry with stories full of heart, but now chases social media trends with films that feel hollow and performative. If this trend continues, even the strongest brands won't survive it. The good news? It's not too late. Disney has a chance to learn from this, to step back, take a breath, and ask what audiences really want. And no, it's not just nostalgia. It's sincerity. It's passion. It's storytelling that doesn't condescend, that doesn't divide, that invites everyone to the table. That's what made Disney great in the first place. And it's what they need to get back to, fast. Until then, the audience has spoken, and the message is clear. If Disney keeps treating its legacy like a joke, then the people who built that legacy, the fans, will walk away. And when that happens, it won't just be Snow White that's lost. It'll be the kingdom itself. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.